My friends, we have a club. It's a not-so-secret club. People know about it now. But we want you to join. The reason why we want you to join is because we want to be closer to you. We want to share the strength, the trust, and the love of the BJJ Bulletproof Brotherhood. You know how you can join this club? You can subscribe. This is the secret handshake. The secret handshake that will bring us closer together, build our family, make you better. And also, we love you guys. We want to get closer to you. So by subscribing, you join the club. We're stoked. We make better content and we can be family.
Boss.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof for BJJ podcast. I'm JT and I'm here with the immaculate hair of Joe Worthington.
Hey guys, I'd love to tell you all about it, but I already did that on the last episode, so make sure you go back and listen to my preamble.
Yeah, it's cool though. It might inspire you and make you more handsome.
Sorry if you're an Irish concreter, by the way. I didn't mean to offend anyone.
Well, hey, I was going to say any concreter. They could be Lebanese. They could be...
That's right.
You know,
hey, we love all concreters.
Yeah, respect. Like, it's what it is. But if you got to get that barbershop fade, it can be a bit generic. My friends, BJJ Home Workouts. This can be a challenge for many people because they say, I don't have much equipment. I can't get to the gym.
Are we talking solo drills here?
How dare you, Joe Worthington?
We're talking like strength and flexibility for jits at home, right?
At home with minimal equipment.
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like? How can you do it? Because a lot of people just don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
And
beyond push-ups, sit-ups, and
squats.
Yeah, squats, yeah.
Yeah. And so we have a definite structure.
Definite.
We're going to break it down for you.
Break it all down.
And then just talk about how you can tweak the variables so it can work for you.
Yeah.
So let's talk, first cab off the rank, is let's talk about the moves and then the different things there. So talking about the moves, Joe, how do we categorize the moves for the home gym workout?
All right. So let's look at this like, and just some context. We got a YouTube video that we're kind of basing this discussion off.
Yep.
Where we've given, it's like our top 15 or 16 exercises for home workouts for jiu-jitsu. So it's in the link in the thing. Go watch that.
Yep.
After you've listened to this episode.
This is the guide and that is the how-to.
Yeah. So here's the deal. First, we want to understand what the basic categories of different movements are. Now, this is not for home workouts. This is for any workout. But you have squat, hinge, push, pull, and core.
Yep.
Right? Very simplified. They are kind of the 5 different actions that you've got, that your body can do, right? So squat, going down, come up. Hinge, it's more of a hip dominant thing. And then pushing or pressing and pulling and then some core work.
Sure.
So if we want to make a nice, well-rounded workout, we're generally trying to put in one thing of each of those categories, right?
So in the workout video that we already have done, it does like dictate exactly what the moves are. But what we could do is give maybe 2 examples of each. One might be the beginner and one might be advanced.
Very nice.
Now there's a bit of progression in there, and we'll speak to that later. But let's give the people an example of what is a very simple thing they may have seen or might be aware of, and then what's something that's like a little bit more advanced, maybe they're not accustomed to. So start with squat.
Well, if we're talking squat, the body weight squat has to be a great starting point.
But we're going for A to G, aren't we? We're trying to get a full range of motion.
Going as deep as you can. Absolutely, yeah. So we're trying to keep the feet flat, heels down.
And so if people can't, like some people really struggle with that. What's the fix there? Because you've got some people with that issue, right?
Yeah. So like it's not uncommon to find it challenging to get deep into the bottom of a squat, particularly if you consider yourself a bit of a tight person or maybe you're a little bit older and you've got a few injuries and stuff. Elevating your heels is going to be the simplest way to overcome that obstacle.
So you're saying we should wear 6-inch stilettos?
Well, not a bad choice. Although, did you ever see that video of the CrossFit girls? They were like Swedish or something. It was like an Instagram video.
What?
Trying to do some Olympic lifting, just like on the fly in stilettos. No. Oh, some horrible twisted ankles.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like all fun and games, and then one of them's like, yank. Yeah, you're like, oh no, don't do it. But yeah, no, look, like elevating your heels just a little bit.
How would you recommend doing that if someone's at home?
So if you've got we're going to assume you don't have weight plates, right? Which
Sure.
is what we'd use here in the gym. What I've used, and you've seen me, I've done this on the Instagram before, is a broomstick.
Cool.
Like the actual, just the broom itself that I use to sweep the garage. I just put that on the ground and I sit my heels on the broomstick.
Nice.
Fucking does the job great. I use that for when I'm going full range pistol squats.
Yep.
Or shrimps.
Nice.
Where my ankle range on my right side is not quite adequate.
It's a bit tight. Yeah, I like to use slides or depending on if you're really tight.
Slides, as in just like under your heel.
Yeah. Like, so actually stand your heel on your flip-flops or slides.
Oh, nice.
'Cause that's, it's like 10
A centimeter or something.
Yeah, about 10 mil. But if you're really tight, you need a bit more. You break out that old school encyclopedia or, if you've really got tight ankles and you need a good 5 centimeters, get a book.
Yep.
Like just something kind of thick under each heel. I find that very effective.
The other really good option for that is if you have somewhere where you're training that just has a gentle slope.
Yeah, it's a bit uneven.
I got that slope on my driveway.
Nice.
And like at times when my knee or my ankle and I'm feeling good, I just go squat out there. And it's the perfect gradient, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And so if we think about something which is more advanced from the squat perspective, where would we go on that, Joe?
I'd be looking at shrimp squats or pistol squats.
Yes.
And I think shrimps are or skater squats. They're sometimes called more accessible for the masses. Pistols are the one where it really does challenge the ankle range.
Yeah. So essentially, you're standing on one leg, and you're curling your heel up to your butt on your free leg, and you're squatting down as low as you can. And your goal is to touch your kneecap to the ground without smashing it. Now, if you struggle for depth, you can put a cushion, you can put other things to kind of gauge your depth. And then gradually over time, as you become stronger, you build up a bigger range of motion.
Exactly.
And then you can do it kind of harder.
And I think a Bulgarian split squat's a great option as a precursor to that. If you struggle with it, you just elevate the rear leg on a bench or whatever.
Chair.
And off you go, yeah.
Couch. Next move out the gate is a hinge. So what is the simplest hinge that people can get around?
So hinges, like just to give a bit of context, in the gym we're usually looking at deadlifts or hip thrusts or kettlebell swings or something along those lines, right? All of those exercises require weights. So we're looking now at a body weight variation. For the hinge, okay, so if we were to just do a body weight version, if you're a total beginner and you've never really with any of this stuff, I think a body weight hinge, like a good morning with a gentle knee bend, is going to be great.
Yep.
It's not going to be a really hard workout. It's going to be more of an active stretch.
Yeah. But hands across the chest.
Yeah.
Even hands, like taking the hands up behind the head actually can really load you up. Like if you're doing anything with extension and you actually put the weight of your hands behind your head, the amount of muscles that you have to use in your upper back and your neck to actually come up, it becomes more challenging than it would seem.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great point. I suppose my preferred option there, if you are someone that's like of moderate strength, would be to take it to like a single leg variation. So maybe a split stance where you've got 1 foot back and it's got a little bit of supporting weight, or you take that leg off the ground altogether and it's a single leg hinge.
Yeah, that's a great way to start. And a more advanced version of that, which we definitely promote in the program, is like a body weight single leg deadlift, like an aeroplane, which is actually surprisingly challenging. Like,
tough.
If you're on carpet, it's actually easier on a hard floor. If you're on a soft surface, your ankle is going to be all over the shop.
Yeah, don't do this shit on jiu-jitsu mats.
No.
Like, for anything that requires balance, being on jiu-jitsu mats is infinitely harder, isn't it?
Yeah, and just having a really solid base is just going to help you, because for some people, they're like, every time I do that, I just fall over. So, we articulated a lot more in terms of technique, but essentially you're standing on one leg, your back leg is going back behind you. You can have it bent if you like. You can have it straight also, which is a little bit more challenging. But the goal is to be able to keep your torso square to the ground. A lot of people, when they do it, they kind of twist off center. And actually, that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep your hips nice and square and keeping that weight in the working leg the whole time as you lean forward to 90 degrees. Some people might be able to go a bit further if they're more flexible.
But some won't get to 90.
Some won't.
Tight, yeah.
But the key thing here is keeping the back straight. A lot of people lean forward and just round. And you tend to lose the work through the hamstring and the glute. So it's really important, guys, whatever your range of motion is, to keep your back straight and keep that work through the hammy and the glute.
So just an observation, like on the squatting and the hinging stuff, if you are someone of moderate strength, but let's say like not particularly flexible, right? You will struggle with those more advanced variations from a like from a flexibility perspective.
Yeah.
You will struggle with the range. You will feel tight. You will feel uncoordinated. And when you're in that zone with certain exercises, you need to use that as like, okay, cool. I'm just going to focus in on getting more flexible and getting more coordinated at this exercise. Once you've gotten out of that place, then it becomes something more of true strength.
Yes.
And at that point, then we need to find a way to make it harder, which we're going to talk about later. But it's important to be like, oh, I really suck at these. My balance sucks. It is exactly what you should be doing in that case. Don't just go, I'm not doing that because it's too hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, lean in on that because that is absolutely a high leverage activity for you. You get good at that, everything else is going to get so much easier and so much stronger.
Yeah.
So then moving to press. Now, we did say before, don't just be doing push-ups, but a push-up done correctly can be very challenging.
Yeah.
We do it a bit different, don't we?
Yeah, like a legit push-up is a fucking great exercise.
What is a legit push-up, Joey? How can you tell these people what's the difference?
All right. So the thing with the push-up is that when we're doing bodyweight strength training, we are generally trying to isolate one part of the body. So when we're doing a push-up, we're talking about pressing. So we want to just isolate the shoulders and the arms, essentially. What that means is that I need to make the rest of my body as rigid and as fixed as possible. So where you would see folks go wrong with the push-up is that their body positioning is just
saggy
and it's fluid and it's moving and they're lifting their head early and in that way there's no isolation. Whereas the way we prescribe it is you're going to have your hands in pretty close. They're just outside of shoulder width. Your hands are going to be almost sort of directly under your shoulder, or your palm will be directly under your shoulder, and your body line will be super tight. So that means your pelvis is tucked, your glutes are engaged, and then you've got your rib cage down and braced. Now, this is like a hollow body gymnastics kind of posture. And if you can hold that throughout the whole push-up, that's hitting the goal of tight body line.
And the angle is almost a little bit inclined in a way in terms of the load because the elbows are by the ribs.
Yeah.
So you're not just going straight down. This isn't like a hands wide, elbows flared, just pumping. It's quite tight and you, in some ways, and I became more familiar with this coming and training at Jungle Brothers, your hips are probably up a little bit. Because I've seen in the past people go, don't put your hips up. But it's not relaxed. It's that midline is really, the abs are tense.
Yeah, and when you tuck it, it kind of, it tends to bring the spine into that horizontal position versus a slight incline.
Yes.
Which you would see in a more conventional push-up.
And this really does work the chest and shoulders in a hard way. So we've got many videos related to this in the program. It does make I gave these cues to a friend and they're like, why would I do that? It just makes it harder and I can do less of them. Like, yeah, exactly. That's how you're going to get stronger, dude.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? It's like, and we kind of said at the beginning, like doing squats, push-ups and sit-ups. We're talking about like if you're just doing them in that conventional way where there's no attention paid to technique and you're just bashing them out, yeah, you can probably do a load of them. Yeah, sure, they probably push some blood into the working muscles, but you're not actually getting stronger like week to week, month to month, right?
You're not improving your coordination through those muscles particularly.
Yeah.
So what could be a more advanced press? Are we looking more at like elevating the feet? Is it more like a handstand thing?
Yeah, so you got a couple of options, right? But I guess looking at something kind of more advanced, I really like handstand work against the wall.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're fans of, like in our standards program, using the chest to wall handstand.
Holds.
Yep, so you'd be kind of walking it in. You could start at a bit of an incline, so you're not going into a full vertical position.
You guys were doing wall walks not that long ago, right?
Yeah, we had them in a phase.
Yeah,
a couple of phases ago.
That can be really tough. I think people really underestimate how much your shoulders are working just with you're not trying to bend your elbows, really. You're trying to keep your arms straight.
Yeah.
There's so much work through your core and your shoulders.
Oh, it's hard as
It's brutal.
Yeah.
And I know some people, even though they might want to invert in jiu-jitsu, you start to turn them upside down in a handstand and people freak out.
Yeah.
It's like that brings on a certain level of nervousness and like, oh my God.
Yeah, you're about to eat the floor if you collapse out of this.
Yeah, it's tough. But that develops a full body strength, right? Just by, you have to keep your core braced. You have to keep your shoulders in a good position. You know, it's incredibly challenging, but this is an amazing way for you to get stronger and there's no weights there.
Exactly. And the beauty is that there's more mobility, like with the pistol and the shrimp, there's more mobility demand on an exercise like this, right?
Yeah.
You need to be able to keep a good body position, get into an overhead spot, And not only do your shoulders have to be good enough for that, but so does your wrist mobility.
Yeah.
So there's more things that are folded into the exercise in terms of benefit, rather than just like, you know what, I'm going to go from like 12 to 16 push-ups.
Yeah.
No, let's add some other variables that are going to actually push the needle further.
Add some skill and coordination, which is just going to have way more benefits overall.
Yeah.
The next one is pull. Now, this is kind of challenging because, you know, we've had many people say, I live in an apartment. We don't have any like horizontal beams. I'm not allowed to put a chin-up bar in or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I don't have rings. I don't have a TRX.
Don't have weights.
What can I do with the pull? Now, it is a bit of a challenge, isn't it?
It is, yeah. The pulling one is like, it's basically impossible without some kind of equipment.
Unless you've got a real solid dinner table. Like you can,
But even that's equipment, right? Like you got to have, it requires something for you to use.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, like we posted a video back in COVID on like you can use a bed sheet.
Yeah,
right.
That's a funny video. It's cool, but it's
cool, but it's not, you know, it's not that realistic that you're going to go and do this folding technique with a bed sheet and jam it in the door frame and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, so if I'm like in that video, I remember I'm like, look, you need to have something to build your pulling strength.
Yep.
Because if you don't, you're just going to end up with an out of balance body.
You'd be lacking.
It's got strong push and you got no back muscle.
Yeah.
I.e. yoga. And and
True.
So, you know, on that, like the greatest tools you can have, yeah, if you got a heavy dining table that you could like get underneath
Like a
and
horizontal.
yeah, and like get like a rock climbing grip on that and do some rows.
Yep.
Or if you've got an exercise band,
Sure.
like one kind of like medium power band that you could put around like
a pole or
exactly, you know, fix it to something like an upright on your staircase and just do your rows.
Or you can stand on it too.
Stand on it.
Stand and do some kind of bent over row variation too.
Absolutely. Or, and this is like, I couldn't recommend this enough. If you are training at home as a consistent ongoing thing, it is worth investing in like a pull-up bar, be it the door frame one that clips over, or it's the expandable one in the door, you know, in the door frame itself, or you go for something that's more fixed into like a brick wall. But like, if you do that, the job's done because you can hang some rings on that, TRX, you could do chin-ups on it, you can hang.
Yeah.
Like that takes care of your pulling work.
That's right. Yeah, definitely worth the investment. And look, if you're just in a situation where you can't do that, just get a kettlebell. Like just a single kettlebell, you know, of a medium weight that you can handle, because it's such a versatile tool. You can use it for pressing, you can use it for hinging, but
Add it to your squats.
yeah, it's going to help you in many ways. But a single arm row variation with a kettlebell is going to do so much to develop through your back. So can't really advocate for that enough.
Now, theoretically, you could, and I say theoretically because this is isometrics are generally a harder form of exercise for beginners.
Yep.
But an exercise that you could do to build your pulling strength with something you already have is to use your gi jacket.
Okay.
And you could get into that position where you've got, if you have like the upright at your staircase.
Post.
Or if not, you wrap it, like put your legs out in front of you and you wrap it around the bottom of your feet. And then you pull that sucker as hard as you can and you hold that for 20 seconds.
Oh,
And
20 seconds is a long time.
Yeah, like 10 to 20 second holds, 5 sets.
Yeah.
Isometric. So isometric strength is when you are in a static position and you are exerting force. So isometrics are hard because for a lot of people, they can't apply the right intensity to actually get a result from it.
Yeah, it's difficult because basically you're contracting the muscle as hard as you can, but there's no real movement happens at the joint.
Yeah, it's
angle.
not point A to point B.
No, it's just forming tension at that point. And this is actually a super helpful way. Like we use isometric contractions in jiu-jitsu all the time, but we don't often train it off the mat. It is a great way to get strong, but you've got to be careful too, because if your spine's rounded and you do this, you know, you've got to really make sure you're set up well before you pull so hard you might just let out a fart.
Like, you're in the comfort of your own home.
Hey, sure.
Do that shit how you want. But yeah, I mean, that's actually a real good one. And the isometric, like if we're talking about the wall walk with the hand, that's an isometric too.
True.
But because it's kind of task driven, like, hey, we're doing a handstand against the wall, don't fall down.
Just stay here.
You almost don't have to think about it.
Yep.
But now that it's like, hey, grab the gi, pull it as hard, you have to consciously pull as hard as you can.
That's right.
There you go.
Nice.
Just came up with that, guys. Breaking.
Oh, there it is. Groundbreaking moves. The next thing is core. Now, actually, this isn't so tough to improve. It's more just, are you prepared to do that work? So a move that we love is variations on a hollow body, because you don't need anything other than you being on the floor and time.
Yeah.
And obviously we can do it for reps and movements too, where we do other different movements. But basically this is where you are forming tension and staying there.
Isometric hold.
And that's hard.
Bus.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
And most people, even though they've heard of a plank or like a hover or, a prone position, a lot of people do that. That's very popular. If you then turn them over and get them on their back and try and get that contraction, people die. It's very rare. If someone is trained, maybe they could do a minute or more. But if someone is not experienced, even jiu-jitsu people who've done plenty of sit-ups and everything else, you tell them to keep that tension at different levels, very tough.
Yeah, they're a great exercise. And you got heaps of different variations based on, right, where you're at. I also like, V-ups or tuck-ups.
Yeah, tuck-ups.
Which are more kind of, same kind of idea, starting from a hollow body position, but it's movement-based.
Active.
Yeah. What is missed, say, in like those exercises that you could point out is like rotational core strength.
Sure.
And that's definitely a thing. You can start to play with side planks, rotational side planks and shit.
And there's many movements where you can actually bring in a degree of rotation without too much challenge. In the same way, you may have done this where you have your legs straight, like a windshield wiper, arms out to the side, and you're taking legs to the side, legs to the other side, just to really engage through obliques, lower back. It's very challenging. It's all about controlling your own body. So more advanced variations is actually not that hard to progress when you go from like a level 1 hollow body. It is very hard in terms of your experience, but it's not hard for you to do it.
Yeah.
You don't have to chuck a kettlebell in there. You're like, I'm going to go from my knees bent, my arms straight, to I'm just going to open that angle out. So by extending the lever, there's more tension in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's way harder than it even looks. And so then you can get into like hollow body rocks. There's like so many things.
Whole bunch.
So the reason why we love that is you don't need equipment. All you need is to know how to do it and keep yourself accountable that you are keeping that tension, not flopping around.
So, at the start of that piece I mentioned, like you want to try and hit these 5 main categories of movements, right? But the reality is you don't have to do all categories at every workout. It's just like if you are training at home and you're like, what am I going to do in the week? You want to be ticking all those boxes across the week. So you might do like 2 or 3 of those exercises on one day and then another few on a different day.
Yeah.
As long as you are collectively keeping balance over time, that's the goal.
Yeah, definitely. So how does someone go about doing a workout at home? Because they don't necessarily have a bunch of weight, so they can't just go heavier, and they don't have machines, so they can just move the plates, which is like a really convenient thing. How does somebody structure their workouts at home? What are they looking at?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Yeah, if you're training in the gym, you can add weight, right? It's the easy way to progress most exercises. Training at home, you don't have that luxury because you're just kind of working with your body weight, which is fixed. So yeah, the first thing that you're doing is going from simple exercises, i.e. bodyweight squat, towards more complex ones. Split squat, shrimp squat, pistol squat, right? Making it harder, more complex will make the exercise harder, and that's going to be a form of progression. But there's a couple of metrics that you can play with, which are going to influence that as well. One is the tempo of the exercise, right?
Time under tension.
Time under tension, yep. So if you're doing 10 squats and you're just banging them out, well, you could try 10 squats, but now you're going down over 8 seconds, and then you're coming up over 8 seconds.
Oh, that's tough.
Right, that'll fuck you up. Like no matter how fit you are, that will fuck you up. So going slower through the movement is a really simple one, but also like changing the range of motion.
Yep.
Won't always be possible in every exercise, right? But let's say you're really savvy with push-ups, and then let's say you've done the slower tempo and you're like savvy with that. Well, now we could try elevating the hands onto a couple of bricks or I don't know, 2 bits of wood.
Yeah.
So that you're getting a little bit deeper into that bottom position.
Bigger range.
Yeah, bigger range. Now you've just made a simple exercise that little bit harder.
Yeah. And you look, to be completely transparent, guys, you will get stronger doing these things, but at a critical point, it may top out.
Yeah.
Because your main weapon is volume. You start, oh man, I can only do 5 shrimp squats. But then you'll be able to build it up over time, and then you can do 10 on each leg. And it's like, well, that's pretty damn good. your major weapon is to be looking to gradually build your volume up over time. The way that I do this, like there's super famous strongman back in the day called Gurna, and he just had a very simple method, which was he would start with 8 sets of 2, and then he would do 1 set of 3, and then 7 sets of 2. Just 1 rep every set, and just build that up over time until he had reached a certain level. Then he would increase the weight, and just gradually like that. And that gives you weeks and months of just chipping away at getting really good at the skill before you add load.
Yeah.
And so once you are familiar with a movement, you know you can do it safely, you're confident, then you're like, you know what, I do want to put a kettlebell in my hand, or I do want to add a 5 kilo dumbbell. So what we're generally encouraging people to do is, slow the movement down, time under tension, but then gradually, not suddenly, build up your rep volume.
Yeah, exactly. And you could even, like you said, add reps, or you could add sets.
Yeah.
Couldn't you go, I did 4 sets of 10. I'm going to go for 5 sets of 10 today.
Yeah.
You know, but as long as you are like, and I think that's probably the key takeaway with training at home, is that you need progression in some way.
Yeah.
So session to session or week to week, you should be looking for one of those metrics to be going upwards.
Yeah, progressive overload. This is absolutely the cornerstone of any improvement, whether it's weight, reps, or time under tension. Just because, don't just get good at a workout and be like, oh, I love that workout.
Yeah, don't be that, because that's the people you see those people in the gym all the time.
They never get better.
They're doing the same
years.
sets, same reps, same volume.
Yeah, I knew a guy who was just like, no, that's my favorite workout. Like, I feel so good when I do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like playing the same game on the same level. Like, you've completed the game, dude. You should go up a difficulty level. Stop playing James Bond on easy. Like, you got to just go up, because otherwise you're just not going to get better. Like, it's great that you're training at home, but our goal is to get you to improve. The next thing on that is workout structure. How does it fit together that somebody's like, okay, I've got these moves, I've got a rough idea of sets and reps I can do. How do I make it work?
All right, so I'll try and simplify this, and then you tell me what you think. The basic thing is this: if you are trying to get stronger and you are working at exercises that are of a high intensity, let's say you're doing 5 sets of 5 reps of pistol squats.
Sure.
For most people, if you can do it, that's pretty tough. If you also want to throw in push-ups and burpees and a run around the block in between those sets of pistols right into a circuit, those pistols are going to be really fucking hard, because you're fatigued from all that other shit. Heart rate's up, oxygen's depleted, quality goes down. So that is not the kind of way that's not the approach that you want to take to get stronger at pistols, right?
No.
So in that regard, if something is really challenging for you and you do want to get stronger at it, you should just do that exercise. Maybe you could couple it with something else that is complementary, right? So maybe it's the pistol and you're also doing a press,
Yep.
right? And you rest a little bit and you repeat until you've done all the sets. But that circuit idea where you take a bunch of exercises and you just do 1 set of each and you run through it, that is not so much going to get you super strong, but it is going to build a level of conditioning and aerobic capacity that is increasing your strength in a very general sense, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like movement specifically, you're not going to be progressing a lot, but in terms of total output,
Work capacity goes up.
that's right. And so for me, like if I'm training at home, and sometimes I'm like, if I'm on holidays, I'm like, I just want to get a little workout in.
Yeah.
I will usually do a circuit.
Sure.
I probably won't do any more than 3 exercises, but I'm like, I'm just going to bash this out because I'm going to break a sweat. I'm going to get my heart rate up a bit. And I'm also going to be doing, 5 sets of some moderately intense exercises.
And so, it's just know that isn't the key way to get strong.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great to do. So we don't want to knock someone for doing it.
No, yeah.
You're doing a workout, thumbs up.
Hey man, if you're into CrossFit, keep fucking with it.
Yeah, like, do those fucking burpees.
But if you are trying to master, like if you're like, I'm trying to break through and get my first chin up, or I'm trying to like hold a chest to wall handstand, or I'm trying to get a pistol squat, well, don't fucking mix it with anything else. Do that, do a set, take a rest.
Prioritize.
Do it again, take a rest. And rest because you need that rest in order to be able to execute a high quality set.
Yeah, I actually heard a quote from Dave Tate. Dave Tate is one of the
That guy, bro. We don't fucking talk about that guy.
Sorry.
No Tates on this show.
No. Wrong Tate. Wrong Tate. I'm not talking about the Cobra. I'm not talking about the trafficker. I'm talking a big old
Jules
man
is like, Tate's my guy.
who used to lift weights. Nah, that guy for sure. No, Dave Tate was saying that, why are you in a rush? If you're trying to get strong, you shouldn't be in a rush. Like he's like, I'm here to get strong. That takes time. You want to make sure you're fresh for the skill you're trying to practice. Otherwise, your skill quality goes down.
Yeah.
He's talking about deadlifts and squats and stuff like that. But he's like, if you're in a rush, you're not going to get strong. That was his take on it. Rest enough that your reps are quality. So our approach, which is something that, I've learned from people smarter than me, better than me in the strength game, which is talking about fitting everything in. So if you've got rocks, pebbles, and sand, if you have it all together and you take it out, the order in which you put it back in will dictate if you can fit it in. If you put the big rocks in first, that will leave space for the pebbles. Then you put the pebbles in, and then you pour the sand in at the end, and that will fill the gaps. This is the same approach to lifting. You should put your hardest, most technically demanding, or the movements that you need to improve at first. Big rocks first.
Yeah.
Then you do your focus on those techniques and put your best energy into that. They usually require the most skill, so that's why you want to do them when you're fresh.
Yep.
Your next set of exercises usually won't be quite as skillful, but will still be demanding. So those are accessory movements. They will help you get better at the big rocks.
Yep.
So those pebbles then fit in. And then at the end, you have your finishes, or you have your kind of bits that, like, if you didn't do them, it would be okay, but you just put them in there anyway, and you just get the most out of them you can.
Yeah.
And that way, you're also not giving yourself a chance to hurt yourself. You're doing the riskiest thing, or the thing which is most demanding, when you have the best capacity to deal with it, and then you're doing your least skillful, less demanding thing when you're most fatigued. So that's the kind of big rocks approach to how you put it together. So big rocks are the hardest movements for you, like a handstand. Like, you don't want to be doing a handstand when your shoulders are totally cooked from doing 1,000,000 push-ups.
No, exactly.
It's not going to end well.
Yeah, you prioritize that wrong.
Yeah,
for sure.
To just give you a bit of an idea of that, do refer to the video that we'll put the link in the bio. You can just, the link below, I should say. You'll be able to click that link, and Joey goes into great detail as to how you can go about this. Now, there are some limitations, aren't there?
There are. You got to acknowledge there are limitations to training at home. So if your goal is to get as strong as you can, as flexible as you can, you should probably get a gym membership, or you should invest in some equipment.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
So there's always, you got to acknowledge, all right, if I'm doing this shit at home without equipment, it's a suboptimal situation. But it doesn't mean you can't still get gains from it.
Sure.
So I guess the main limitations that come to mind for me are progression.
Yeah.
Right. So, we kind of gave you some different ways to progress it there, like time under tension, complexity, extra sets and reps. Whereas if you could just add weight to the squats, I do a 12 kilo kettlebell this week, and next week I'm on a 16, and that's a really simple way to progress. So if we're comparing two individuals, the person that's just got access to weights and to strength training equipment, they're going to progress faster than you.
Yes.
Second limitation, just to touch on the first time we mentioned it, is the pulling thing.
Yeah.
Right? That's a definite kind of tricky limitation of bodyweight training at home.
Yeah, definitely. And look, I guess what you should know is this, guys, like, investing, and that's really what it is. It's an investment. Buying 1 or 2 kettlebells, even though kettlebells, if you're not familiar with them, might seem expensive because you're like, oh, it's just like a ball of iron with a handle. They're very versatile. So not only can you use them to improve your pulling strength, you can use them to improve your conditioning and so many other things once you know what to do. So just by spending $80 or $100, you got a tool, and it needs no maintenance. They don't break.
It'll be a family heirloom. You pass it on to your children, their children.
Pass it down. That's right.
Yeah, like legitimately, it will last forever.
Forever.
And it's like you buy once, cry once.
Exactly.
Right? You just pay a few $100 for like 2 or 3 of them.
Yep.
And you're set. You're good forever. Like, you don't actually ever need to buy anything else if you don't want to.
No, and I think even we generally refer people to have a couple of bells, a couple of bands.
Yeah, so look, what is our basic recommendation there?
Generally, what I would recommend is that you would have a lighter kettlebell so you can master the technique. So light for you might be 8 kilos. Or if you're familiar with training, you already do a bit of lifting, you're a stronger human, 12 kilos, just to master the technique. Then you want to have a progression on that, which will be 16. You don't want to jump too fast. And then you want to have a heavier kettlebell, which might be 20 or 24, depending on your level. You save that for the kind of heavier moves. Yeah. And then over time, you're going to level up, and then you're like, man, I want to get a 32. And it becomes an addiction. And before you know, you're me, and you have 36 kettlebells, and your house and your mum's kicking you out. You're like, dang, now my car looks like a
Oh,
lowrider.
can you bring the kettlebells over?
Can you put them in the van? My suspension won't take it.
But yeah, so the set of 3 bells,
So set of 3 bells, you want to have
few bands.
a medium band and like a lighter, skinnier band. So we're
Yep.
talking about the
Power band.
1 meter compressed kind of rubber loops. Now you can get a booty band. There's plenty of things you can do with those. But in terms of doing work for your upper body, lower body, pressing, pulling, all of that, having a medium sized band and a skinnier, lighter band, very helpful.
And then I would say the next investment would be the pull-up bar.
Yeah.
And that's super
good.
complete home gym, right? And it doesn't take up a lot of room.
And a nice to have is some rings or a TRX.
Oh, yeah.
Because that horizontal pulling.
Rings preferably always, but
Yeah.
if it has to be, if your fucking uncle gives you their old
So
tower,
be it.
okay, I'll use it.
But that's the thing, like, because for some people, they really struggle with pull-ups, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
And so if you struggle with the vertical pulling, you got to master the horizontal pulling.
Yeah.
And rings are absolutely perfect for that. And there's so many other cool things you can do with them.
Yeah.
They're super versatile.
Absolutely. Now, in terms of then direction, like obviously go check that video. But of course, if you want like our sort of gold standard recommendations, we have Living Room Warrior.
Living Room Warrior.
Living Room Warrior, which is on the app, and it's a 6 cycled program that is designed to progressively overload you from point A to 6 points later.
Yeah.
And
It's a solid 9 months of training. On the other side of that, you will be like at least twice as strong, maybe 5 times as strong, because depending on your base.
yeah,
5
and
times 0 is still 0. No.
and pretty much 95% of that program is totally body weight.
Yeah, and I revised the program to make it less equipment dependent.
Yeah.
Because when we first released it, there was a bit of rings, a bit of pull-up bars in there, and people weren't happy with that. Like, some people just couldn't do it. So I revised the program so it's less focused on that. And look, guys, if at any point you're using it and you need a swap out, just hit us up.
Hit us up. Get the app at bulletproofforbjj.com. You can start a free trial. You can access all of the programs. Jump right in, start training, and then if you dig the thing, stick around and we can help you with your training.
Nice.
See you there.